Well, away from food, let's do a bit of politics here. Well, the political parties have been on fact-finding missions. The NDC have been on theirs. The NPP have been on theirs. In fact, they've just set up their own. The PPP say they have gone through the process and they are over and done with. They have details just to share with their teaming supporters. Nia Lutebru Hammond is national chairman of the Progressive People's Party. He joins us today in the studio for a discussion on what they set out to find, the PPP, and what they found. How will that impact the next steps that the party takes? You're welcome, sir, to the show.
You. And good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you.
To your esteemed listeners and viewers.
All right. Okay. So let's start with the research, the fact-finding committee that perhaps you set up. With the NDC and the NPP, you know, we had names, we had the people, they launched it, you know, was all over the place, so we understand. But I'm wanting to find out who chaired your committee, what were their terms of reference to start with?
Well, we engaged an external research team to look into why we perform the way we performed.
Poorly.
It wasn't poorly.
Abysmally.
Well, you may call it that, but there are only two political parties that gained votes in the 2016 election, the NPP and the PPP. NDC lost votes, and so did the other parties. So we are moving up, except that, you know, we didn't move up to the top. But we are strategizing now so that we can move up to the top in 2020. The findings of the research committee.
No, let's talk about. You said you engaged. Hold on, sir. You said you engaged an external research team.
Yes.
From where?
Well, I'm not privy now to let you know who they are.
Why not?
We will.
So we have the Kwesi Botchwey committee for the NDC, for the NPP.
But that's how the NDC and the NPP decided to do. We, the national committee, met and decided to engage an external research company.
You know, research basically boils down to credibility. And so when you're looking for the source of a certain research finding, you're doing so for the sake of credibility. So, which is why we need, and your people need to know.
We will let you know. In due course, we will let you know. If you're interested, we will let you know. But the findings
what were they to find?
Right. Basically highlighted two issues that we are pursuing now. One of it was to re-energize our membership. Many of the complaints coming from the members that were interviewed directed the blame at some members of the executive that did not pull up their weight. They felt that some were not up to par. And so elections were to be held so that they, now having identified those who are truly party members, they could be elected to be at the helm of affairs and steer the party towards victory. The second, coming from the research, was that if the smaller parties were to get together, it would enhance their fortunes. And so you will recall that a few weeks ago, our national committee again approved a resolution asking the party to move forward and seek the possibility of having a united front of like-minded Ghanaians.
Of lobbying other parties and getting them to
and other like-minded Ghanaians. We have embarked on that, and we have engaged at least the CPP, the PNC, the GCPP, and we are also asking our regional executives and constituency executives to do likewise at that level, for them to also feed us with the most likely arrangement to make. The discussions are centering on a merger or on a coalition, and many do not understand what the difference is between a merger and a coalition. And we do the best we can to explain to them that when it comes to merging, it means that all the other alliance partners will have to disband their political party, form one party with symbol, colors, and slogan, and register with the Electoral Commission. On the other hand, a coalition will allow the political parties coming together to stay and then have an arrangement to elect one flag bearer for the coalition and one candidate for the constituency at each of the 275 constituency. So that's the mission we are on, and we've been to the Volta region, we've been to the Western region, we are yet to hit the other 8. The next is the Eastern region, and we hope that we will receive that much enthusiasm from our members who are now eager to win 2020.
I see. Let's talk about executive not being, some of the executive not being at par. Some of the executive, you say people didn't want them, they thought that they weren't up to scratch, so they want them removed so that you conduct different elections, so that people, when is that going to happen, and which executive exactly, if you could give us some names of who the people thought didn't deserve to be in the positions that they were.
The research did not say Kojo or Ama or Isi, but they said that many of the respondents accused some of the executives. Now, elections in a democratic environment are held across board, so there is not one particular position that is being...
But they are national executive.
National, regional, and constituency.
So you're going to have a total
the
reshuffle,
yes,
sort of.
Well, the strategy is for 2017 to have elections. In the next 3 months, from May, June, July, we are hoping that the constituencies will engage themselves and organize elections to elect the executives they prefer to run affairs for the constituency. Okay. Then the following 3 months, July, August, September, we would hold the regional election, so that if the regional officers there are not pleasing to the members on the ground, they can elect their new members. And then from October, November, December, we will then elect the national officers towards a convention that we will hold towards the end of the year to commemorate also our 5th anniversary, the Progressive People's Party.
I see, you're 5 years already. How time flies. I see,
and
interesting.
The people of Ghana, in the 2 elections we have engaged in, voted the party to the 3rd position. And we want to move from 3rd to 1st.
I see. Moving from 3rd to 1st, you're looking at joining forces and looking at mergers and coalition and etc. You've mentioned that you've engaged the which other party? GCPP?
GCPP and
the CPP, from which your flag bearer broke away. So you've engaged some of them. Let's start with the CPP. What was the response?
Oh, the response is positive. We've met, I've met a number of times with Professor Daly, and the response is good. They have
He wants to join.
Well, it is not a he thing, it's a party.
The party,
it's
the,
a party
the CPP does not mind to go into a coalition with the PPP.
I'm saying that the discussions are going on now. As long as we sit and talk, the discussions are going on. At the end of the day, various committees will approve whatever decisions are taken at that discussion level. So I am hopeful that when it gets to the Central Committee of the CPP, that the Central Committee will endorse whether it's an alliance of bordering on the merger or an alliance bordering on the concept of a coalition. We haven't arrived at what it will be yet, and I'm sure when that happens, then the various political parties will get a chance at the committee level to approve or disapprove. So
for now, the party's priority list has 3 elections, national and constituency
and regional
levels, national, constituency and regional levels, and then you're looking at this
convention
measure.
And the convention that we will hold after the elections are complete.
I see. And whilst you wait, what really is the CPP, the PPP doing about how you performed during the election? I mean, you've spoken about trying to get more members, to join the party, etc. Is it going well? What else are you doing to ensure you do better?
What we are also asking our members on the ground to do, in addition to organizing for the election, is to target the youth. The youth are our future leaders, and they need to ensure themselves that with an administration they can get jobs. And if they're going to get jobs, then they have to have the skill, the competence, and the integrity to be able to perform in those functions. As we sit now, many are looking for work and they can't find. Yes, they've been unemployed formally for the last 8 years, because nothing is coming. And many of them are even giving up looking for work, and therefore they are engaging in all sort of illicit work. We know many are now doing galamsey, poisoning the surface with cyanide and mercury, which isn't good for us. And we need to ensure that we take them off those activities and put them in gainful employment. That will require an administration that can create jobs, jobs for the people so they can earn a living wage. The minimum wage we have in the country right now is nothing to write home about. 8 cedis and 80 pesos a day. I mean, it's something that you and I ought to cry against and tell our administrators that they need to do something about it. We don't have to wait for labor to come and agitate for living wages, because you and I ought to know that there's no way anyone can survive on 8 cedis and 80 pesos a day. In times past, I can remember that when we were spending shillings and pence, the minimum wage was 6 shillings and 6 pence. And ask anyone of my age, they will tell you that with the 6 shillings and 6 pence, you could save. You could save. Because that was when Fanta was 6 pence. That was when Totro was straw. That was when you could buy Kiloli.
But that had been your argument since the NDC was in power. Now it's a different government in power, a different party in power. I mean, it's still at the initial stages.
Well, whose life has changed now?
Some people's lives have changed.
Well, some maybe you, but there are many whom I saw on my trip to Enchi and to Ho that still compete with the goats and cows to drink the same water. And you and I ought to know that we ought not to see a human being reduced to the level where they have to now carry buckets on their head for water, search for water every day. That shouldn't be. That when nature calls you, you don't have to go to the bush. As a human being, and today as we speak, we have a new government, yes, but I can tell you that this last hour, many have gone to the bush to respond to nature's call.
What? Many have gone to the bush to respond to nature's call. That's a very interesting way to put it. Today, the government held a policy forum, the National Policy Forum. They're looking to get feedback from people on national policy. And I'm interested to take the PPP's thought on that.
My first advice would be for the authorities to focus on how to improve our lives.
Yes, but we cannot improve your life without necessarily knowing what you require or what is required to make your life better.
I just told you how to make someone's life better, to get a tap water, to get a toilet facility.
And so they're doing that the idea is to be able to communicate the policy, government's policies to people, and to get feedback from people about the policies that they have.
And the National Communication team there, they have their own communication apparatus. They have the Ministry of Information and the vans and all of that. So they ought to be able to utilize those areas to let us know what it is they are doing. At the end of the day, which will be in 2020, we will judge them on the performance. You know, it's just not just words. You remember that in the campaign, the build-up to the 2016, we said there were promises and there were doers. You know, meaning both of them can speak.
I see.
Both the doer and the promiser will speak. But at the end of the day, who would perform? Who would perform? And that is what we want Ghanaians in redefining this playing field for them to understand that it is not just voting for someone who can talk.
So you're not impressed with the National Policy Forum?
Well,
the MP, the PPP is not impressed.
To elicit the views.
It is a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing to elicit the views of Ghanaians.
Okay.
The better thing would be able to implement it so that your life and my life changes.
That's true. Okay, but before I let you go, so let me find out what's the membership base of the PPP? How many members are in your books?
As we speak, the registered members with party cards hover around 60,000.
60,000?
60,000.
Really?
Registered political PPP party members. We're trying to energize them and to get them to also pay their dues. Because once they pay their dues, I think we will then be able to tell who is truly
are they paying?
Party. Some are and some are not.
Out of the 60,000, how many are paying?
About 10% are paying.
10%?
About 10% are paying their dues. We want to encourage it so that we can move from 10 to 30 to 40 to 50. It's not easy in this environment where many of them are earning 8 cedis and 80 pesos a day. There's not much left at the end of half a day to sacrifice 1 Ghana cedi for their dues. So we're encouraging that, yes, they save 50 pesos, and at the end of the month, be able to get 1 cedi that they can show their commitment to the Progressive People's Party.
Okay, so in the next few days, this will be your final word, if you may. In the next few days, what should people expect of the PPP and its flag bearer? Indeed, we've seen it's doing quite a number of public engagements, talking to young people, etc., in schools, sharing his life stories with them. Is that a part of the strategy? Because you spoke about the strategy from the research team, the strategy that you have laid out following your own investigations of the reasons why you didn't do very well in the election. So what's the strategy?
Well, the strategy is for the party to strengthen itself, be firm on the ground. And that is what we are embarking on now. When 2016-17 is over and we've elected and held our national convention with the leaders, then we would know what mission they will be able to accomplish in 2018. Because the task for them in 2018 will be to elect a flag bearer. And I'm hoping that when the nomination is open, Dr. Papa Kwesi Nduom will pick a nomination form and file. If he doesn't, I will pick one up, complete it for him, and ask him to sign.
I see. Sounds like a plan. But is he the main financier for the party?
No, all of the members.
Recently, his business was hit by a tragedy, a disaster, unfortunate one. But is that affecting the party?
Oh well, it's his
private business, you said,
that was affected by the mishap.
Okay.
We share in his grief, and we support him. But the political party PPP is standalone.
Right.
It is financed by its members, and based on your strength, you contribute what you can.
Okay.
Going on this national tour, it is the membership, the national committee that have contributed towards it, and everyone has contributed their widow's mite.
Okay.
Some widow's mite is like a mountain, but others.
I see. Thank you very much, sir, for coming. Nii Alotebrul Hammond is the national chairman of the Progressive People's Party, and he was here talking about what they have found from the elections and why they failed and what they intend to do.